Welcome everyone to lesson 4. Today we're going to jump into website building. Our two topics are choosing a site builder and choosing a host. Project 1 is also due this week. If you have not started on that and you're watching this video, please start immediately. It is rather time intensive, as I've mentioned a few times before. You'll want enough time to finish that up, and that is due this week. We will also talk about Project 2, and that will start this week. But first, let's go through site building and hosting. If you want to think a little bit about the difference between these two, think about a host. If you're thinking about a physical building, the host is the plot of land that you'll purchase. When you purchase hosting, you are purchasing the digital plot of land, if you will, the place, the storage place for your website content online. And the site builder, you will use to construct the actual website, and you can think of that as the actual building you build on that plot of land. So that's the difference between site building and hosting. A lot of companies will offer both of these together, and I'll show you some examples of that. We separate them in this lesson so that you understand the different products you're purchasing, even though a lot of companies combine these two now. It used to be that they were completely separate. You purchased a hosting package from a hosting company, and then you'd pair that with a site builder, but many companies are finding it advantageous to combine the two. In this first assignment, you will do a quantify and compare spreadsheet and an essay. So we're following that same assignment template we've been using. And you will compare various site builders. There's 3 different types of site builders that you can choose from. The first one is what we would call a drag and drop. These drag and drop builders are the most basic. If you've never built a website before, I highly recommend one of these. They are simple. You can choose from a pre-existing template. You can drag various other elements onto your page that you want. If you want pictures, if you want a text box, a button, etc. It's fairly intuitive to build, and these companies are very good at making this a very simple process. Weebly has always been one of the most common. I did have a lot of trouble with Weebly last semester for the first time. They always come very highly recommended for me. I've used them various times over the years, but last semester students had a lot of trouble with them. They've revamped their customer service platform, and they seem to be a little bit less available. So just be forewarned. I typically recommend Weebly highly, but students did have a tough time last semester. Wix is another good example of that. Sometimes a little bit more expensive than Weebly, depending on the sales and offers they have in the moment. But those are just 2 examples. There's tons of drag and drop builders out there if you'd like to explore more. Another type of website builder is called a content management system. And this will be a combination of using templates, some drag and drop elements, but you're also going to include a little bit of coding. So if you're comfortable with a little bit more complexity, you can customize these sites a little bit more. WordPress is one of the most well-known content management systems. There's many others. Squarespace is one that's come up recently. Shopify is another one. So you can use a template to build in the basics, and then if you're comfortable looking up a little bit of coding or doing a little bit of coding, you can customize these. I will say WordPress has been problematic, although in the past year or 2 they've been a little better. But I've seen a lot of issues with WordPress early on. I think they've made some progress. Squarespace and Shopify seem to have been pretty good for students recently. And then the last type is the most complex. You can build your own website from the ground up. I don't recommend this option if you don't have experience doing that. If you're very comfortable building websites and you prefer this method, then by all means, design away. Dreamweaver is a common tool, but there are many others you can use to write your own code from the ground up using HTML and CSS. So you will take a couple of those options use 3 criteria and 3 different choices in your quantify and compare spreadsheet. So take 3 of those options and build your quantify and compare spreadsheet, and then write a brief essay on which one of the 3 you chose and why. It needs to be at least 150 words in length. But that's about it for your site builder assignment. We'll jump into choosing a host, which is going to be very similar. As I mentioned, a lot of these companies, a lot of these site builders will do both hosting and site building. And so Weebly and Wix in particular, a lot of those basic drag and drop site builders will do both for simplicity's sake. So before you go and purchase a hosting package, make sure you know whether your site builder offers hosting or not. Regardless of whether your site builder offers hosting, you want to go through this assignment and assess different hosting companies. There's some reading here to give you an idea of what you should look for. In my experience, I found all host companies to be quite reliable. If your host company has an outage for some reason, your website will not be accessible. And I haven't found a lot of variation in performance. Their core job is to keep that website running, and they do a pretty good job of that. I have found differences in customer service, and so you might want to check on that, how you would access your hosting company if something went wrong, how responsive they are, what their ratings are for customer service. That may be something you use to distinguish between different hosting companies. But you'll do the same type of quantify and compare spreadsheet, 3 alternatives, 3 criterion, and then you'll answer the following questions about your hosting company on your essay. And that will be it for those 2 assignments. You'll have discussion boards on each. You'll have a reflection at the end of the week. And let's jump into Project 2. Project 2, just like Project 1, is a little bit more time intensive. There's a video here to walk you through the details, but I like to keep this one simple. It's broken down into these 5 tasks, which is essentially teaching you how to launch your website. You'll go through a lot of these functions in the next couple weeks as assignments, just like we're going through site building and choosing a host this week. We'll go through some website design guidelines as an assignment to help you on your project. But you'll need to complete these 5 tasks. And what I want to focus your attention on is what you're ultimately graded on. You're going to be graded on 3 criteria. Do you have your own domain name? Meaning, as part of your website launch, you need to purchase a domain name. If you launch a free site with Wix, then the URL will be your website name .wix.com, or if you do that with Weebly, it will be your website name .weebly.com. And when you purchase a domain name, that ending .wix.com goes away, and it just says .com or .org or whatever you choose. And so you need your own domain name. Those site builders will teach you how to purchase a domain name, or your hosting company will offer the opportunity to purchase a domain name. But that is an important part of your website. You'll need that later on as we do different projects, different analyses on your website. So you'll need your own domain name. You need most of the necessary pages and navigational links and just the basics of design. I'm not looking for a completed, polished website when you launch it. You can launch your website, and we're not going to advertise it yet, so no one's going to be able to find you except by accident. So you're not going to have a lot of website traffic once you launch, but you do want the basics down. And then finally, you'll need an integration with a third party to enable financial transactions. That means you can have a credit card reader built in through PayPal. That's an assignment we'll do coming up, or a similar type of function to PayPal. You could have affiliate links or drop shipping links, something there that allows you to generate revenue from your website. And those are the three elements. And so the 5 tasks will help you set all that up. But that's really what I'm looking for when I go through and I grade project 2. I try and keep this as simple as possible. I need your own domain name. I need the basic design, navigational links, various pages. And then you need to show there's a potential to generate revenue on the site. And that'll be it. That is your week 4. Please let me know if there's questions about these assignments. I'm happy to provide my experience with various site builders or hosting companies. And so if you're stumped on one of those or have to make a decision, I'm happy to provide what insight I can. And I hope you enjoy this week. This is, I think, where things start to get a little bit more exciting as we move from the plans to build a business to actually taking the steps to build it. So I hope you enjoy this week.